My ex left me and our kids with a note, saying she'd be back in a few years, but returned to find. I never imagined my life could be turned upside down with a single note, but there I was, standing in the dark, reading words that shattered everything I thought I knew. The note was simple, almost too simple, yet it contained everything: a goodbye, an excuse, and a promise I knew would never come true. Jake, I need to do this for me. I've met someone who can help me explore the world. I'm leaving to experience the life I've always dreamed of. I'll be back in a few years, and we can pick up where we left off. That's how Lisa, my wife of 11 years, left me and our 2 kids. A note. Not a conversation, not a discussion, just a note. She had been changing for months, maybe longer, but this was the breaking point. The day she walked out, she took more than just her things. She took the life I thought we were building and left me standing in its ruins, trying to piece together the pieces of a shattered family. Lisa and I met in high school. She was my first everything. We got married young, thinking we had all the time in the world to figure out life. We had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Things were supposed to get better, right? But somewhere along the way, Lisa decided the life we were living wasn't enough. The trips to Bali, the designer bags, the obsession with keeping up with an image, it all became about her, not us. At first, I justified it. She wanted the best for our family, right? That's what we tell ourselves when we love someone. We let them get away with things, because we're afraid of losing them. But then the shopping sprees started getting out of hand. Her credit card bills piled up higher than the rent, and I was working longer hours just to keep up. When I'd come home, I was greeted by Amazon boxes instead of peace. Instead of spending time with the family, Lisa was hanging out with a new crowd of high society moms from school, always talking about vacations and designer clothes. I didn't recognize her anymore. I tried talking to her, tried to get her to see reason, but it was like I was talking to a wall. She'd say things like, "You don't get it, Jake. I'm doing this for us," or "You don't understand what it's like to be a mom these days." But when did being a mom mean spending more on one handbag than we paid for our rent? Then came the breaking point. I woke up in the middle of the night to find Lisa wasn't in bed next to me. My first thought was a midnight snack raid. My second thought was that maybe she'd gotten the bug to explore the world, something she always joked about. Turns out, she wasn't joking. The house was dead silent. No lights, no sounds. That's when I saw it. The note. I sat there, staring at it in disbelief. Lisa was leaving us, but the worst part? She wasn't even giving me a choice. She didn't just leave. She left a promise for the future. One that involved her coming back when she was done. Done with us. Done with everything. She was chasing a dream, and in her mind, it was more important than the family we'd built. My stomach twisted as I reread her words. It wasn't just a note, it was a goodbye to our life, to the family, to me. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking. I tried calling her over and over, but it went straight to voicemail. I woke the kids up, not sure why. Maybe I thought they could reach her. Maybe I thought it would make her pick up. But they tried to, and nothing. It was the first time I saw the reality of it all. Lisa wasn't coming back. Not anytime soon. My son, Ben, who was 12 at the time, looked up at me with wide, confused eyes and asked, "Is Mommy gone? Did something happen to her?" My daughter, Ellie, only 8, asked, "Is Mommy in heaven?" That question cut through me like a knife. How do you explain that their mom, the woman they loved, just decided they weren't enough? That she was leaving to live some fantasy of a better life, and didn't even have the decency to say goodbye properly? I didn't know how to answer. I fumbled for words, saying something vague about how Mommy was going away for a while. But nothing I said felt right. Nothing would ever make it okay. That night, the weight of the situation crushed me. Lisa was gone, and I was left with 2 kids who had just lost their mother, not physically, but emotionally. And I was left alone to figure out how to explain it all to them. But even worse, I had no idea how to handle the mountain of responsibilities that were suddenly mine. No more shared burdens. Just me. I called Lisa's phone again, once more, and once more, nothing. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and frustration. I kept replaying that night. wondering if I had missed something, some sign that Lisa was unhappy or dissatisfied with the life we had built together. But the truth was, I had been too focused on the daily grind to notice. Too focused on paying bills, taking care of the kids, and keeping everything afloat. I had taken her for granted, assuming that what we had was solid enough to weather any storm. But I was wrong. The hardest part wasn't the sleepless nights or the overwhelming responsibilities. It was seeing the emptiness in my kids' eyes. Ben, still confused and angry, would ask me every day, "Dad, where's Mom? When's she coming home?" The first few days, I told him she was on a business trip just to keep some sense of normalcy. But as the days wore on, I realized how futile those lies were. He could see through them. Ellie, on the other hand, took it differently. At 8, she didn't fully understand the magnitude of what was happening. She'd sit by the window, waiting for her mom to come back, and I'd hear her little voice softly calling, "Mommy, are you coming home soon?" I had no answer for her. I couldn't tell her the truth because I didn't know it myself. Lisa had promised she would be back in a few years, but she left no contact information, no forwarding address, nothing. I tried to call her, leaving message after message, but each one went unanswered. It felt like I was shouting into the void, hoping for a response that would never come. And with each passing day, I began to lose hope. I had to be strong for my kids. I couldn't afford to fall apart. But it wasn't easy. The silence in the house was deafening. It was a reminder of the family we used to be, the laughter that once filled the rooms, now replaced with a hollow quietness. I found myself unable to focus at work. I was always distracted, my mind racing, wondering where Lisa was, what she was doing, and why she couldn't at least tell me the truth. One evening, a few weeks after Lisa's departure, I found myself standing in the kitchen, holding a glass of whiskey in my hand. I didn't drink often, but tonight I needed something to numb the aching in my chest. Ben was upstairs in his room, and Ellie had finally fallen asleep on the couch, curled up with a stuffed animal. I sat down at the kitchen table, staring out the window at the empty driveway. I hadn't heard from Lisa, and at this point, I wasn't sure if I ever would. I thought about all the years we spent together, all the dreams we shared, and how easily they had been shattered. Lisa had walked away from us, from me, and it felt like she had taken everything with her, the good, the bad, and the memories. I thought about the life she was building without us. She had left to explore the world, she said, to chase her dreams. But what about the dreams we had built together? What about the family we had created? I had sacrificed so much for our future, and yet she had just walked away as if none of it mattered. That's when I received the message. It was an email from an unfamiliar address, and at first I thought it was just spam. But then I saw the name. It was from Lisa. My heart skipped a beat as I opened it. Maybe, just maybe, this was the answer I had been waiting for. But what I read shocked me. "I'm sorry, Jake. I thought I needed this time away, but I was wrong. I miss you and the kids more than I can put into words. I've realized that what I was chasing wasn't what I wanted after all. I've made mistakes. I've hurt you, and for that I am sorry." I couldn't believe it. For 6 weeks, I had received nothing. And now, she was reaching out with these words, telling me she made a mistake? It didn't feel real. I read the message over and over, trying to make sense of it. She had hurt us, hurt me, and now she was sorry? Was it really that simple? But as I kept reading, I could feel the walls of my frustration beginning to crack. She explained how she had gotten caught up in the idea of something better, something outside of the life we had. She had let herself believe that leaving was the only way she could find happiness, but now, she realized she had everything she needed right in front of her. "I want to come home," the message concluded. "I'm not sure how to fix everything, but I want to try." I stared at the screen for a long time, my emotions swirling inside of me. Part of me wanted to yell at her, to scream about all the pain she had caused. How dare she come back now, after abandoning us without a word? But another part of me, the part that had loved her for so long, wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was the chance we needed to rebuild. But I couldn't be naive. I couldn't just let her waltz back into our lives without knowing if she truly meant it. She had shattered our family once. I couldn't allow that to happen again. I closed the email and put my phone down. I had to think. I couldn't make a decision like this in the heat of the moment. I had to consider the kids, the life we had now without her. Could I let her back in? Could I risk opening my heart again to the woman who had walked out on us so easily? For the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of hope. But it was a cautious hope. A hope tempered by the reality of everything that had come before. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for sure. It wasn't going to be easy. The days that followed the email were the most agonizing of my life. The words she had written to me sat heavy in my chest, like a burden I couldn't escape. I knew that Lisa was right about one thing. Our life had been full of cracks. We had built a world together, but somewhere along the way, it started to crumble, and she walked away before we could even try to fix it. The problem was I didn't know if I could ever trust her again. She had left us without a word, a promise that felt more like an empty excuse than anything real. And now, after 6 years of silence, she was telling me she wanted to come home. She wanted to fix what was broken. But could she? Could I? I spent the next few days in a haze, caught between the desire to protect my family, my kids, and the lingering love I still felt for Lisa. I wanted to believe she had truly changed. I wanted to believe that her sudden realization that she missed us, that she had made a mistake, was genuine. But the truth was, I was scared. Scared of the pain she had caused, scared of the possibility that her leaving had been just the first of many things she would do without considering us. I couldn't talk to the kids about it. Not yet. Ben and Ellie had suffered enough. They had grown used to their mom being absent, to me being both parents, and I wasn't sure how they would react. Would they even want her back? Or had the time apart already hardened their hearts? I couldn't risk disappointing them again. But it was more than that. It was about me, too. Could I forgive her? Could I open myself up to her again without the fear that she would hurt me all over again? The guilt I felt was suffocating. I loved her. I always had. But the trust, the foundation we had once built, felt like it was in ruins. There was no easy answer. And yet, the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was no avoiding the decision. I had to choose. Either I let her back in, with all the risks and uncertainties, or I closed the door for good and moved on without her. I decided to meet her. I needed to hear it from her, to see if the woman she had become was the one I remembered, or someone I could even begin to trust. But I wasn't going to make it easy for her. I wasn't going to just welcome her back with open arms. Not after everything. We arranged to meet at a small coffee shop near my office. A neutral place, away from the kids and the house, somewhere we could talk without any distractions. The day of the meeting, I stood in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, wondering who I had become in these past 6 years. I barely recognized the man staring back at me. I was no longer the hopeful, naive husband who thought love could fix everything. Now, I was a father, a protector, and someone who had been broken by the one person he trusted most. When I arrived at the coffee shop, Lisa was already there, sitting at a corner table. She looked different. She had changed in ways I couldn't quite describe, but I could still see glimpses of the woman I once loved. The way her hair fell over her shoulders, the way she held herself, the same eyes that had once sparkled with excitement, except now, there was a heaviness to them, a regret that seemed to weigh her down. She stood as I walked in, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. There were no words. I didn't know how to greet her. My heart was pounding in my chest, my mind racing with questions, with fears. "I didn't know if you'd come," she said, her voice trembling. "I wouldn't blame you if you didn't." I took a deep breath and sat down across from her. "Why now, Lisa?" The words escaped before I could stop them. After everything, why now? Why come back after all this time? She looked away, her gaze dropping to the table. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know what I was thinking when I left. I thought I was doing the right thing, chasing something better. But I was wrong. I've been living with that regret every day, Jake. Every single day." I watched her, The woman I had once trusted, now a stranger. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that she had changed, that she had truly learned from the mistakes she had made. But the pain from the past was still there, like an open wound I wasn't sure I could heal. You left us, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You didn't even say goodbye. You just left. Do you know what that did to me? To Ben and Ellie. She winced, as if the words hit her harder than anything I could have thrown at her. I know. I know I hurt you, and I can't take that back. I should have handled everything differently. I should have been honest with you, with the kids. Then why didn't you? I asked, unable to keep the anger out of my voice. Why did you leave without a word? Why did you leave me to raise our kids alone? I wasn't strong enough, she said quietly, her eyes brimming with tears. I was scared. I didn't know how to face the truth. I thought if I left, I could find what I was looking for. But all I found was emptiness and regret. I miss you, Jake. I miss us. I miss the family we were. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and full of uncertainty. My heart ached, but my mind was still racing. Could I forgive her? Could I let her back into our lives? Into my heart? I didn't know. But what I did know was that I couldn't make this decision in one meeting. It wasn't fair to Ellie and Ben, and it wasn't fair to myself. I needed time. I don't know if I can just forget everything, Lisa, I said finally. But I'm willing to think about it. For us. For the kids. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. I understand. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And I want to try. As I looked at her, I felt a flicker of hope, but also a sense of fear. Fear that I might be making a mistake. But one thing was clear. No matter what happened next, nothing would be the same. The weeks after meeting Lisa were nothing short of agonizing. I thought I was ready to hear the truth, but hearing it and living with it were two entirely different things. I had agreed to take things slow, to see where we stood, but every time I tried to move forward, I found myself stuck. It wasn't just the time she had been gone. It was everything. The betrayal, the pain, the emotional scars she left behind. Lisa started visiting more often. She didn't move back in right away. She couldn't, and I didn't know if I was ready for that. But we started talking more about the past, about the kids, about the wreckage she had left behind. She wanted to fix it, she said. She wanted to prove she had changed. But no matter how much she apologized, no matter how many times she told me she had made a mistake, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still chasing something. Something beyond our family, beyond what we had built together. Ellie, who had barely spoken to Lisa since she left, seemed to be the hardest to reach. I didn't know how to make her understand. I didn't know how to fix what had been broken between them. Ben was more understanding. He was angry at first, but as time passed, he began to let go of his resentment, mostly because he just wanted things to feel normal again. But Ellie? She was different. Every time Lisa showed up at our door, Ellie would retreat to her room. She wouldn't talk to her. She wouldn't look at her. The worst part of it all was the guilt that weighed on my chest. I could see how badly Lisa wanted to make things right, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to give her that chance. My love for her was still there, buried deep inside, but the pain and the betrayal she had caused made it hard to imagine a future together. One evening, Lisa and I sat in the living room after the kids had gone to bed. I had been distant with her lately, not because I wanted to be, but because I was scared. Scared of opening my heart to her again, only to have it broken once more. I know it's hard for you, Jake, she said quietly, her voice filled with emotion. I know I've hurt you, and I understand why you're hesitant. But I'm trying. I'm trying to show you that I'm different now. That I want to be here. For you. For the kids. I looked at her, searching her face for any sign that she was being honest. For a moment, I saw the woman I had fallen in love with, the one who had been kind, thoughtful, and devoted to our family. But the doubts crept in again. How could I trust her? How could I risk giving her everything again when she had taken it all away so easily? I want to believe you, Lisa, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe that you've changed. But the truth is, I'm scared. I'm scared that if I let you back in, you'll just leave again. That you'll walk away from us when things get tough." Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached out to take my hand. "Jake, I know I've hurt you. I've betrayed your trust in ways I can never fix. But I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. I promise you I want to make this right. I love you, and I want to build the family we were supposed to have." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But part of me knew I wasn't the only one who had been hurt. Ellie was still struggling with the idea of her mom coming back. How could I make her believe in Lisa again? How could I make her trust someone who had left her behind without a second thought? The next few days were filled with tension. Lisa spent time with the kids, trying to rebuild her relationship with them, but the cracks in the foundation were too wide to ignore. Ellie refused to speak to her. Ben, as usual, tried to play peacemaker, but even he couldn't fix what had been broken. I knew I had to make a choice, and I couldn't delay it much longer. I couldn't keep pretending that everything would go back to normal if I didn't make a decision. Lisa wanted to come home, but I had to ask myself, was it worth it? Was it worth opening my heart to her again, knowing that the pain of the past could repeat itself? Late one night, after a long day of trying to keep everything together, I sat alone in the kitchen, my thoughts spinning in circles. I could hear the distant sound of Lisa talking to the kids in the other room, her voice soft and gentle. I wanted to believe she had changed. I wanted to believe that the woman sitting in my house was the same one I had married, the one who had loved me with everything she had. But could I trust her again? I felt a presence behind me. I turned around to find Lisa standing in the doorway, looking at me with those same pleading eyes. "I know you're scared," she said, her voice trembling. "I know you're afraid of getting hurt again. But I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I swear." I could feel the weight of her words in the pit of my stomach. She was asking me to take a leap of faith, to believe that she could change, that she could fix what she had broken. And for the first time in a long time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't ready to let go of her. Maybe I wasn't ready to give up on us. "I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again," I said quietly, "but I'm willing to try. For the kids. For us." She stepped forward, her hand brushing against mine. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm here for good." And with that, the door to a new chapter was open. I didn't know where it would lead, but I knew that it would be a long, difficult journey. One that would require patience, forgiveness, and time. But maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to the family we once were. Time became both my ally and enemy. The decision to give Lisa another chance was one of the hardest things I had ever done. The road ahead wasn't clear, and there were no guarantees that we would ever be the same family we once were. But I had made my choice, and now, all I could do was see it through. At first, things were awkward, painfully awkward. Lisa moved back in, but nothing about our life felt familiar. The kids were still uncertain. Ellie barely spoke to Lisa, and Ben, although he seemed to want things to go back to normal, couldn't hide the hurt in his eyes. I tried to hold everything together, but every conversation felt like walking on eggshells. It wasn't just about Lisa and me anymore. It was about the kids, their trust in her and in me. Could they ever believe in the family we had before? I watched Lisa try. She tried so hard to rebuild what she had broken. She would spend hours talking to Ellie, offering to take her to dinner, to the park, anything to make up for the years she had missed. But Ellie shut her out completely, as if the walls between them had been built too high to climb. It was heartbreaking to watch, but I couldn't force Ellie to forgive Lisa. She had to come to her own conclusion. There were moments when I thought maybe this would work. Lisa and I would sit down late at night, just the two of us, and talk. We talked about everything, the past, the mistakes, the hurt. And slowly, I could see the woman I had once loved emerging from the shadows. She apologized, again and again, for what she had done. She promised she would never leave again. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that the woman sitting across from me had truly changed, but trust wasn't something that could be fixed with words alone. It had to be earned. One evening, about a month after Lisa had moved back in, I came home from work to find her sitting at the kitchen table, tears in her eyes. Ellie was standing next to her, her arms crossed, her face set in a mask of stubborn anger. But then, something shifted. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, Mom," Ellie said quietly, her voice barely audible. "But I think I can try." My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't expected this. After weeks of silence, of walls, of rejection, Ellie was finally opening up. She was still hurt, still confused, but she was willing to try. Lisa looked at her, her face filled with raw emotion, and reached for her hand. "I'm not asking you to forgive me right away, Ellie," Lisa said softly, "but I want you to know that I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm here. For good." Ellie didn't say anything, but she didn't pull away either. For the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this wasn't just a dream. Maybe, with time, we could rebuild what had been lost. But it wasn't going to happen overnight. It was going to take patience, a lot of patience, and I had to be ready for the long haul. As the days turned into weeks, I saw progress. Small, but steady. Ellie began talking to Lisa again, but it was clear that their relationship was far from what it used to be. It was a delicate balance, and I could feel the tension between them, the fear that things could fall apart again. But every small step felt like a victory. One day, as I was sitting in the living room, Ben came to me, his face full of concern. He had always been the more sensitive of the two, and I could see how much the family's tension weighed on him. "Dad," he said hesitantly, "do you think things will ever be the same again?" I looked at him, trying to find the right words. What could I say? The truth was I didn't know. I didn't know if things would ever be the same again, but I did know one thing. We were trying. And that, at least, was something. "I don't know, Ben," I said softly, "but we're working on it. That's all we can do, work on it. Together." Ben nodded, though I could see the doubt in his eyes. But for now, that was enough. Over time, Lisa and I found ourselves falling into a new rhythm. It wasn't the life we had before, and it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. We had moments of joy, family dinners, lazy weekends, the small moments that felt normal again. But the scars were still there, and I couldn't ignore them. Lisa had hurt us. And though we were healing, the wound would never fully close. The trust that had been shattered wasn't something we could just pick up and put back together. It would take time. Years, maybe. But I was willing to give it a shot. Then one night after dinner, Lisa and I sat down on the couch. The kids were in their rooms, and for the first time in months, I felt like we were alone. Not just physically, but emotionally. We were two people who had been through hell together, and somehow we were still standing. "I know I don't deserve it," she said, her voice quiet, "but I'm grateful you're still here, that you're giving me a chance." I took her hand in mine. "You're right. You don't deserve it. But I'm giving you the chance because I believe we can make this work. For the kids. For us." She looked at me, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't deserve you, but I will spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of you." It wasn't the grand reunion I had once imagined. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. But it was real. It was messy, complicated, and hard. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like we might be able to rebuild. Together. The hardest lesson I learned through all of this was that sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who hurt us the most. Trust, once broken, is a fragile thing. But with patience, time, and a willingness to change, there's a chance for healing. The journey is long, and the scars will always be there. But they don't define us. What defines us is how we choose to move forward. If you've ever experienced betrayal or the pain of losing someone you love, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How did you handle it? What would you do if someone you loved came back after a long time? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartfelt stories. You're not alone.